You are listening to the JP Show.
Where we discuss the issues you care about from a Jewish perspective.
I am Rabbi G.
And I am Rabbi Levi.
And we hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the JP Show. Normally we record this in the morning. This time it's the afternoon. How are you, Rabbi Levi? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank God, everything's great.
That's good.
We're in the thick of things here. It's a busy term. Things are happening.
That's for sure. You're still feeling inspired from the trip? It hasn't worn off yet?
Absolutely.
That's good.
We're absolutely pumped.
Pumped. Very good. So, what are we talking about today?
So I want to talk about the importance of academics.
Oh, academics.
In school.
Oh, in school, certainly. It's good you said in school, because I was worried you were going to undermine the whole BINA.
So BINA is about learning, for sure. We're a place of learning. Maybe we'll get to that soon, adults. Let me just ask you a general question. How do you think schools are doing nowadays?
Oh, it's a loaded question. Actually not doing so well. I mean, there's some very good schools. We have to be careful, of course. My son-in-law is a principal of the school, which is your brother-in-law. So, yeah. But no, I mean to say, education is very tough. And it's not the school's fault necessarily. It's a lot of factors: society, parenting, culture, technology, and so on and so forth. Not so easy. A lot of distractions. Attention span's gone down. Lots of things.
Sure. So in general, I think, I mean, at least when I was in school, everything's changed since then. I don't know, but schools definitely make a very big deal out of academic success. In fact, some people like even measure a school by like how they do in their HSC, like, you know, sort of the percent, whatever you call it. Like, what do you think of that? Isn't that a very like flawed way of looking at things?
Well, I think it is flawed, but I think we also have to be careful how we understand this, because let's break it down, right? If you're talking about academics in Jewish studies, for example, we are the people of the book, and learning Torah, amassing and absorbing Torah knowledge, is considered very central to Jewish experience, right? One of the most critical things, we've talked about this before, that ever since the Jewish nation started as a nation, one of the constants has been places of learning and the importance and the emphasis on Torah study. So there's no question that it is very, very central. The question is what exactly that means and how do you deliver it and how do you define a school? It's two separate things. Because when we talk about, let's just start from the Torah again, right? So, and again, I'm not Torah study is one form of knowledge and academic study, and it is, but it's not only academics, but and then there's lots of different academic learning in terms of, you know, general learning and general subjects and so on. So let's go back to what we just said before, right? The Torah is very central. Torah learning is very central in the Jewish experience, but yet in the Ethics of the Fathers, in Pirkei Avot, it says that whoever says that the only thing I have is Torah study, then he doesn't even really have Torah study. In other words, there is a goal. There's a goal to Torah study. There's a goal to learning Torah. I mean, besides divine connection, all the spiritual things that come, and of course, knowledge of Jewish law and developing healthy perspective and so on. But it's actually meant to change a person, right? In other words, the development of the person is part and parcel and an integral part of the academic experience in Torah study. And by extrapolation and by extension, I think that is true with everything. In other words, let's talk about a school, right? I mean, there's no question. The school is a place of learning, and so it should be. But, and this is what I'm saying. There's actually one thing in the 70s. The Lubavitch Rebbe had a very big talk about this, and he was referring not only to Torah institutions, he was referring to all academic institutions, where he said that, especially nowadays, where we have a very strong, complicated culture and homes are not what they used to be, and so on, a school is a place of influence, of inspiration, of molding a person, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, I think schools, so if you start the other way around, the notion that a school is measured or the quality of the school is measured by its academic success only, which very often it is, and they talk about academic excellence and so on, which is all, of course, important, but that is a flawed thing, right? That's number one, because maybe a particular school did well, but not as well as other schools, but yet they're molding and they're training, respectful children and children who are strong socially and emotionally balanced and just good people, you know what I'm saying? And could be. And somehow it's not taken into account. Partly because it's hard to measure, right? Your mark on your HSC is easy to measure. Second of all, I think it's also important to understand that the mark on the HSC actually isn't even a sign of academic success, right? Right. So I actually want to make 3 points. The first point is that a school is not just about it. It is a school, a place of learning, but it's much more than that. It's about molding the child. Second of all, what is academic success? Academic success means, I think, the ability to learn, the ability to do independent learning eventually when you get into adulthood. I know in Jewish studies, that's a very, very big critical thing. I know one of the earliest things they try to teach us when we're learning Talmud, for example, is, a mark of success is, can you prepare a page of Talmud on your own, right? It wasn't about, can you get 100% on the test of something you've been taught. It was about how independent have you become and how quickly independently have you become, right? So I don't know if answering a mark and cramming, studying for exam, and you able to, and you're able to succeed is really a mark of success anyway. And thirdly, I think the most important thing is, while learning is important, but it's very important for everyone in their way, right? In the individual journey, and it's important. Excellence is important, but excellence is an individual thing. Schools, I think, are very based on competitiveness, which has its place, and it's a healthy thing, and it's the way kids grow, and so on. But at the same time, it's also about how much you grow and how much effort you put in, and we know that to be true, particularly in Torah study. We know that although it is very important to gain tremendous amounts of volume of Jewish learning, for example, in the Jewish tradition, it's also as important to work hard. Yigiyah, the idea of toiling, putting in effort in learning, is really important. So I think what's going on, and this, by the way, induces a lot of anxiety sometimes and everything, like to define yourself by your mark on a test, define yourself how well you did,
or to define your children by their mark on the test.
Yeah, or parents to define their children of how well they did in the HSC is shockingly damaging, I believe.
Can I actually just interrupt for a second? And maybe this is very controversial. Maybe this is like one of the worst things. This is like close to blasphemy, maybe. But talking about HSC, and it's actually quite applicable because I think now we're going into like the HSC exam time. Not exactly what happens, but around now. We've had this experience of like, people are very gracious and opening up their homes, and we do shurim in people's homes and things like that, right? And we've had this experience almost like, you can't do things, they're very happy to always open their homes, except for when they have a child doing HSC, right? It's almost like for a year, you can't host anything else in the house besides for, focusing on this thing that's happening. What do you think of that? I just don't think. Obviously, I'm sure people, consider HSC important, and I'm sure for certain things, if you want to pursue certain careers, I'm sure it is important. But do you think it's a healthy thing, on many levels, of telling a child that for the next year, the only thing that's important is your mark, and sort of like you shouldn't be able to handle any disturbance or anything else? Like, I just don't think it's a healthy thing.
So I gotta tell you a funny story. Because you just
it wasn't against anyone specific, obviously.
You just sparked a very beautiful memory in my mind, and I'm very thankful to my mother, of your grandmother Bobby Allah Shalom, for this. I finished HSC in South Africa. It wasn't called HSC; it was called Matric. I went to I did it in a very special way because I was also studying a lot of Jewish studies at the same time. But bottom line is, I had to sit the exams, and it was a month after Sukkot. Festival of Sukkot, around the end of the year, towards, I don't know, November time, whatever it was. We had to write the exams. And just before Sukkot, I got offered, there was a Chabad rabbi in Cape Town. I was living in Johannesburg, and there was a Chabad rabbi in Cape Town who called me. He called two people, one that already finished school and a friend of mine who was post HSC, post matric, and me. And he says he needs help because for Simchat Torah, just about it was a week-long thing. He's making a big. He's going to be having a lot of like students and a big Shabbaton, and like it's going to be they're going to be there for the end of Sukkot and Simchat Torah, and he wants us to come down and help him. I'd been to Cape Town before on different things, but so he wants us to come help him. I told him I'd let him know, and I was 1,000% certain. I wasn't so into my HSC to be honest, but I thought my mother was, and she really wanted me to work hard, and which is correct. You always got to do the best you can.
Yeah.
So I was for sure that he's not going to let me go. Like, come on, like a month before the exam, it's not going to happen. So I kind of mentioned to her, by the way, in the car, I just thought I'd take a chance. And I said to, Rabbi, I said, we used to call the Ima. I said, Rabbi Popek, whatever his name was, he called me and, I'm not sure I can go. So she says, you got to live. It's a great thing. Why not? Go for it. You'll study when you come back. And I'm very, very grateful to her because it was an amazing perspective. Not that she didn't push me. She pushed me to finish HSC. She pushed me to do it properly. She wanted me to study, but she understood life doesn't begin and end with the exams. And I think that's important for parents to realize. And again, obviously you got to protect them. You got to give them safe space to study. I remember when my older brother did matric. He was a very studious guy, and it was a bit noisy because all us younger siblings, made a lot of noise. We were young at the time, so he went to stay with my grandparents for a week, and that's fine. Like that's okay, before the exams.
I just think, it's not even, it's not only about academics. I'm just thinking now, it's just a general thing in life. Like, we should never become like, if you're doing one thing, like there's nothing else important in life. Now, life just doesn't work that way.
Correct.
I mean, when you get married and you have kids, I mean, you can be very busy with one thing, but you have other responsibilities. Like, it shouldn't be, person should never, like, life is never about one thing.
So I think there's a fine line, about telling people to do their best and encourage people to work hard, which is always good. You should always work hard, whatever you do, right? And you should always push yourself a little bit, but not push yourself because you have to get that mark, which is better than someone else. Or, if you're pushing yourself, you're doing your best. I think when our kids were in school, we always were very careful about this. We didn't like when people were lazy and didn't do stuff, but it wasn't about the 95 or the 99 on the test. It was about, did you do your best? Did you try?
Yeah.
And again, also balance. Like, you can't just stop playing for a year. You can't just stop breathing for a year. It doesn't work like that. I mean, the other thing is, it's really questionable now educationally, whether it's actually a good educational model altogether. I know this is also controversial, but I actually don't think it's such a good model. I don't think stuffing your brain just by studying the stuff you're going to forget. I mean, I remember I hated some of the subjects I did for matric, and I don't remember any of them. I'll give you a simple, funny example. I mean, obviously, I grew up in South Africa, and you had to do Afrikaans. It wasn't a choice there, right? Mm-hmm. So I studied, and I got through. I can't put two sentences together in Afrikaans. I know a total of about 15 words, and I wrote essays in Afrikaans, right? Because I forgot all of it afterwards.
Yeah.
Except the stuff I actually, anyway. So I mean, so it's not so simple that it actually is a good educational model anyway.
Which actually is connected to something that our sages tell us, that a person should always learn what's called the makom sheli bechafetz, which means a place like something you actually want to learn. Because, as you're saying, like if you don't have interest in something, you'll forget it next week. If you actually live something and you're into it, you actually connect to it, then it lasts. If you actually want to study it.
Yeah. So again, I mean, there's always a balance in that, right? It's also good to explore things that are difficult for you.
Obviously, yeah.
Because that's how you grow. I mean, when we were in your
It doesn't necessarily say. In fact, it doesn't say to learn something that's easy for you. It's something that you want to learn. Those are actually two different things.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, like when we were in yeshiva, if you remember, we didn't always get to learn what we want. I mean, there was a certain curriculum that you had to follow, but there was times in the day where we can choose. Like it was a bit of a balance, right? But within Torah study, within Talmudic study, and so on and so forth. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, like it's a big question mark. One thing is clear. I mean, it's a bit out of hand. I mean, there are I mean, I've gone into a school. I won't name the school, but I was once asked to come into a school to talk to. I think it was HEC students or year 11 students about anxiety. And one thing I said to them, I said, you're not defined by your mark. You're really not defined by your mark. I mean, don't forget, you might be very successful in life, whether it's financially or spiritually or whatever the case is, and it'll shine in many, many other ways, right? I mean, Jewishly, like we believe it doesn't, doesn't matter who you are. Everyone should study every day. Studying Torah, for example, is about more because it develops a perspective and it gains knowledge. But there are different ways of doing it. Back in the shtetl, and I think this is really important, right? Now, this is why the school system is so complicated today. Back in the shtetl, not everyone, when even those families who only learned Jewish studies, for example, many of them at 12, 13 went onto the farm. They didn't actually finish.
Yeah.
A lot of them became really good Jews. They had a little shiur a few times a week. They kept learning, but it wasn't that focused because it wasn't their thing.
But it does say that nowadays it is encouraged for everyone to go to a Jewish school because we need the atmosphere, we need the.
Of course. No, I'm saying the idea that not everyone finished academics, not everyone went through the schooling system as it is today, right? Because not everyone could, not everyone was able to, and so there's many layers of this discussion, but I definitely think that to define a person by the academic success, whether it's in general studies or in Jewish studies for that matter, is problematic.
Yeah. And I think that comment that you made a few times over here about doing your best and working hard and not being lazy, I think that's also not necessarily about the importance of academics per se. It's about the importance of how to live life in general, right? Whenever you're doing something, you should do it properly. Like don't waste time. Don't you got to put in, if you're doing something, put in all your effort in doing it. Right? I think that's just an important perspective. And also what you said about doing your best, right? It's not about competing with someone else. That's also a very, very Jewish concept. We say in the Shema every day, we say you have to love God with all your heart, all your soul, b'chol me'odecha, which literally can be translated as like with all your very. Like in other words, you need to push yourself more than you can do, like sort of a little bit more than what you're comfortable with, but not necessarily what someone else does. It's sort of two different things.
It's your journey of growth. So growth is very important. Growth and hard work, what they call grit in these days, right?
Yeah.
Very, very important. But it's got to be in something that you can succeed in, and something that you could push yourself in and feel that you've been fulfilled.
Yeah. So how do you think parents can impress this on their children, that like the 95% is not the most important thing in life, but the most important thing in life is working hard and growing and character and all of that? What's the sort of practical ways of impressing that?
I think first of all, by believing in that and really impressing it upon us, about drilling it in from a very young age, that we absolutely want you to work hard, want you to push yourself, but as long as you push yourself, you've done your best, then that's what we want you to do, and that's success.
I always, I mean, I don't know, this is not an expert opinion, but like when my kids come up with their report card, one of the sort of the parts of it that I make the biggest deal about is the part which talks about their behavior, how they interact.
That also, yeah.
And I definitely put a much bigger emphasis on that part. I always tell them this is like the most important thing. How you
part of that character is also working hard. So
right,
and the social and respect and social thing and spiritual behavior and so on and so forth. All that is really important. So it's about the person. It's about so 100%. Okay.
You have anything else you want to add to this this discussion?
Well, I mean, this is of course a brief synopsis of this topic. There's we can go on for hours, because I mean the other thing is also how academics is delivered, but that's really a whole nother discussion, right?
Yeah.
Differentiation. Some people learn differently. It's also important to understand how people learn. Not everyone learns the same way. Not everyone learns in a structured classroom system. Within the classroom, different modalities of learning. Some people are more audio, some people are more visual, some people are more artistic, and like the just different. I mean, we know this even from Jewish learning. Some people are more into Kabbalah, some people are more into Talmud. Now we believe you should learn everything, but there's always an area of emphasis, and this was true way back. Even the great sages, there were sages that were more into legalistic type learning, and more into Chumash learning, more into Kabbalistic learning. They did everything, and they dabbled in everything, because that's who we are. We explore everything that we can, but there's areas of emphasis, and it's also that comes hard in a school system sometimes. But of course, no choice. I mean, schools are important, and somehow we have to, but we have to just create that balance and create the holistic approach of. And again, I'm not trying to say that school should become like a good feeling sort of, feeling good kind of institution. Schools is a place of learning. There's no question about that. That's what it is.
And learning is a fundamental of Judaism. We
Yeah,
need
it's
to
a
learn.
fundamental thing. There's no question. That shouldn't be misinterpreted. It is a very, very fundamental part, but it has to also come together with the growth of the person as a person, both emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, all those things.
Yeah. All right. Great.
Very good.
Have a wonderful day, everyone.
All the best,
If you have
everyone.
any questions, want to argue with us, please contact us.
Yeah, please do. See you then.